All right, we're back at the shop again today. It is middle of February, and I really feel like we're right on schedule with this build. So, Dad's done a lot of little work that I knew would take a lot of time, but it works well for him because he can kind of do it during the week when I'm working during the week, and then when I come here on the weekend, it really works just to kind of fine-tune some things. But he's got the front end pretty much all welded up, ready to go. We've got a few little things to tack on there yet, but for the most part, that's ready to go. I think today we're going to focus on getting the rear end out, getting the cross member out where the hitch hooks to, getting that all welded up. I think we're actually going to take the transmission out today, get that out so that we can get that to our transmission guy and get that set up. But yeah, we're getting real close to getting it over to powder coating right now. So we're just kind of finishing up some things. I think we've got a lot of the major build part of this done, which is good and exciting, which means we can start finishing some things, cleaning some things up, and getting that ready for paint. And then once we get it powder coated and painted, then we'll get it over to our graphics guy, get it all wrapped, and then start putting it back together. So our goal was to have it all back here by the end of March, to give those guys a little time to get things done, and then that gives us all of April and May to put it back together and finish up the build, because we still have a lot of work to do. We still got a lot of wiring to do. We got to run fuel lines, brake lines, a lot of little things that need to be done after we get everything all put back together. So yeah, it's gonna be an exciting day. It's fun to see it come together, but it's also fun to see it coming apart now and getting ready for the final assembly. All right, before we get started with all the work today, let's do a quick walkthrough of what we've got going on. You can see that Dad has done a really nice job on the front radiator cover. This is just strictly cosmetic. It kind of covers up the radiator, the fan, and all that stuff. We wouldn't have to do it, but I just think it adds a nice touch to the tractor and gives it more of a cleaner and better look. You can see the side shields there as well. They're just kind of small, but that was the point of this type of frame. He's got the roll cage all welded up, ready to go, and we have got most of the tower for the steering all welded up, ready to go. Everything is bolted in and it's looking really good. So today our thing is going to be to get the rear end out and get that welded up and get the cross member all welded up. You can see here there's a little handle there by the seat that is going to be kind of where the shifter is for the transmission. So we're just kind of mocking up some looks there, how that's all going to work, and if it's going to work for me there, because when you're strapped in like we are, it's hard to reach, so everything's got to be within a hand grip away. Here you can see we've got the cover off of the dry shaft, and the exit's got to be welded up, and he's got the brake pedals all mounted in and ready to go as well. And then here is our newly designed gauge cluster that we'll be able to have. That's got the heating, the oil, and the fuel pressure gauges all mounted inside of it. So yeah, we had to redo that so it was easier to see from the driver's seat. The original one was a little bit low, but yeah, we got that fixed and ready to go. So yeah, let's get started with today. First task is going to be to get this rear end out. We want to get the rear end out, we want to get that X out, and we have to weld everything up, and then we want to put that rear end back in later just to make sure it didn't warp when we welded it and didn't get all twisted up. Sometimes that happens when you weld and get a lot of heat. So we started by taking everything off the back that was there. We're going to pull the dry shaft out, and then we're going to take the X out. The original plan here was to take the X out, the cross member out, and then take the rear end out. But as we got going, we realized that the X won't come out unless the rear end's out, just because of the way we've got it sitting in the rails and the way kind of everything is all buttoned up. So not a big deal with it. We just got to pull the rear end out to get the X out. In reality, the X will probably never have to come out unless something happens to it where it is damaged. So here we're taking all the bolts out of the brackets for the rear end, and then we're going to get ready to pull that out. But we realized can't quite do that because we've got the stands for the tractor onto the rear end housing. So we got to come up with a way here to get that off of the rear end housing, and we're going to put some other jack stands here that are going to lift up the tractor frame and get them off the housing. So once we did that, we are able to go ahead and just slide that rear end back just as easy as can be. Honestly, I am impressed how well this actually worked out for us. And because, there's no sense lifting a heavy rear end out if you don't have to. We use one of our little lifts here that Dad's got around the shop to get the rear end out the rest of the way and get it set on the ground. Now you saw one of the brackets fall down. The tack weld broke. Not a big deal. We'll just re-tack it on there and finish welding it up. So we did end up putting the rear end back in just to make sure it was all in place again before we did that up. But now that the rear end's out, we can get the cross member out, and you can see where the hitch hooks to that, and then we can get that over to Dad on the welding table. And this takes a little bit of time, but you know, it works out well because while he's welding that all up, I can be taking out the center section of the rear end and getting that ready for him. So you can see here he's going to go ahead and go all the way around that housing with a good bead. He'll weld the plates together where they were halved, and it's going to be a really solid connection, and a really solid connection when it gets in the tractor as well. And while he's doing that, you know, I mentioned earlier we want to get that transmission out. I got to get it over to the transmission guy because he said that was going to take about a month to work on. So I'm taking off everything I can here to get the transmission out, which again, this tractor was built with ease of disassembly and assembly in mind. So we pull off the steering tower and then pull a few bolts out, and we can lift that transmission right out of there without having to take the motor out, without having to do anything. So yeah, we loaded that up. So yeah, we're just kind of looking where we're going to cut that hole in the front for the radiator to get some air, and discussing a few other little things here that we got to get ready before it goes to paint. But yeah, I think we're both really looking forward to getting it out and getting it over to paint and giving us just a little bit of break here before we start the final assembly. If you like what you're seeing, you know, like this video, share it, and subscribe to the channel.